Hey guys, and welcome back to XL Medical Spa. And before we get started today, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and then don't forget to like this video as well if you've been enjoying all this content that we've been giving you. So let's come back in a minute and talk about complications when it comes to PDO threads. And before we get started with the video, I do have a huge announcement to make. As most of you know, I am one of the top 3 providers when it comes to Novathreads in San Diego County. But recently they did give me a little surprise. I won't announce it yet until they announce it to me, but it is big news when it comes to me as a provider in 2020 for Novathreads in San Diego County. When it comes to aesthetics, when it comes to medicine, it's always important to know what are the complications and what are the potential side effects. Now, when it comes to PDO threads, I realize that some of you may not even heard about it before, or when I brought it to different facilities where I'm at, it was kind of a learning curve in regards to teaching what PDO threads, what they can accomplish, and sometimes battling what you find online. So complications when it comes to PDO threads is very similar to what you do when you have fillers. With fillers, you're injecting a product, a gel, a hyaluronic acid into your body to produce volume, whether it's volume in your cheeks, volume in your lips, or volumes in any number of other places. Now, PDO threads, rather than injecting or placing a gel or a product like hyaluronic acid, we're implanting a thread. Now, that thread can be anywhere from about 4 inches long and a pulling cog barb thread, or just a 1.5 inch long smooth thread. And we've talked about different varieties of threads and how we place them in a video that I'll link below as well. So with injecting a filler, complications include aesthetic dissatisfaction, lumps, bumps, bruising, swelling, allergic reaction to the product itself, and then the major complications is arterial or venous occlusion, meaning that if we inject that product into a vein or an artery, then we produce an occlusion or we produce a clot, in turn has other complications as well. So those are the major complications when it comes to fillers. Now, PDO threads, similar, lumps and bumps, bruising and swelling. Allergies, not so much, because this similar product is used in surgeries as well when it comes to suturing up a procedure. Now, the other piece is, can we inject it into a vein or an artery? Sure, there's a possibility, but because we're putting in a longer thread, it will be very difficult to put that thread directly parallel into a vein or an artery to occlude that place. Now, if we bisect that vein or artery, chances are typically we're not hitting an artery because it's pretty deep, but if we hit a superficial vein or something, then you'll just get bruising and swelling. But those are some of the complications that you may find. The other ones that you see online are what's called snaking. So if you have this long thread or this long barb, and if it's placed incorrectly, what happens, you'll see this thread snaking through the tissue. The other piece is you'll have these little lumps towards the end of the thread. So the thread is this long, for example, and if that thread pushes up superficially against the skin, which we'll see in a second, it can create a lump or a bump. Now we'll cut away and I'll show you a couple videos of a client that I had recently where it was about 3 weeks after the procedure, and what happened was every time she smiled, she would see the edge of the thread just poking. So imagine if this thread was sitting top of the face, down towards anywhere the medial part of the face. What happens is when she smiled, you can see if that thread was my finger, it just pushes up against the edge of the skin. So I'll show you that part. So the first step is just identifying where it's poking out and whether we need to take out the thread completely or just trim the excess thread. So in this first video, what you'll see me doing is just putting a little bit of lidocaine with bicarb to numb that area to make the insertion hole. What you'll see me do next here is I'm taking an 18 gauge needle, the same size needle as I would use to make the initial hole to implant the barb itself. But what I'm doing is I'm just making the hole, and I'm looking at this video while we're chatting as well, is I'm trying to find the edge of the thread. This happens to be the barb. And next step is you'll see me take some pickups, which are just pretty much thin tweezers. And now we're just digging and finding. Unfortunately, because we're not making a big hole to preserve any scar tissue or make any other aesthetic dissatisfaction, what we're doing is we're just going in and feeling for the thread. If I can feel the edge of the thread with my pickups, then that's the goal. It's just to slowly manipulate it to have that thread pop out from that hole that we've made. Now for the last part, we finally found the thread. So now I'm holding it with the pickup itself. Same procedure. We're pushing that thread deep down, and fortunately with this patient, I didn't have to pull out the thread completely, but we just trimmed the excess, put a little bandage on it, and we're good to go. Now in the years that I've been doing this procedure, fortunately, knock on wood, I've never had huge complications. So the 2 major complications is one that we mentioned, the snaking. So if I see that long thread and it's just snaking through the skin, If I see it right after the procedure, I'm not happy with it, I take it out right away. No big deal. Take it out, place a new one in, and you're good to go. Now, in regards to this lump that you see, what happens with people who either have thinner skin, or if you have a very animated face, then you can always potentially move that thread. With fillers, if you animate tremendously, if you smash your face on a pillow sleeping at night, then once again, there's always a potential for migrating that filler somewhere else. It's just anatomy. We put it in a gel. Hopefully it stays in that place, but there's always a chance for migration somewhere else. In that case, we can adjust it, we can dissolve it. Again, no big deal. When it comes to threads, for this patient specifically, what happened is it just migrated up a little bit and we saw it poking through the skin. You saw just a little dimple. It looks like a little pimple that moves. So what we did was just grab it, find it, trim off the excess, and you're good to go. So that is another procedure on PDO threads. Hopefully it calms some of the fears that people have when it comes to PDO threads. And then also, how do we address complications? With aesthetics, with medicine, with procedures, there always comes a risk and always comes a side effect. So make sure that you ask all those important questions when it comes to the provider or the facility you go to. And then also, does the provider, does the facility do enough procedures where they encounter these items and know how to correct it? So don't forget to like this video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification icon so you'll be notified whenever new videos release. Tentatively, we're shooting for every Monday. And then don't forget our Leaders 30 episode every second Tuesday of the month on IG Live. So we have one coming up next Tuesday. We're going to be talking with Carolyn, a famous esthetician out in San Diego, where we're going to talk about all things acne. So make sure you tune in for that second Tuesday of every month on IG Live. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.